UFC 315 takes place in Montreal this weekend, headlined by Belal Muhammed versus JDM. We have a lot of interesting fights, a lot of questionable fights. I'm gonna go through each one, give you my thoughts, and who I think will win. Starting off with the opener, Brad Katona versus Bezkat Amakan. Brad Katona is coming out for a loss to John Matsumoto, who I believe is still undefeated. I think he's 17-0 or 16-0. I forgot who he fought last. He beat Jesse Butler by unanimous decision, lost to Garrett Armfield, but he beat Cody Gibson in his debut at UFC 292. Had a good run on the Ultimate Fighter. Best cut, I'm gonna call him though. You look at him, his last fight was against Umar Nurmagomedov, which he lost by unanimous decision. Again, Umar was just in there fighting for the belt. But Murad put on one of the best performances we've ever seen from a champion and looks unbeatable. Um, I think this is a pretty straightforward pick. I'm going with best cut. I'm gonna come. He lost to Umar in his last fight, and his only other loss was a second round choke, which I believe was in 2021 or 2022, or since then he went on an 8-fight win streak, and Brad Katona hasn't really shown much in the UFC that makes me believe that he is a high level MMA fighter. I could be wrong, but I feel like Best Cut Almacan has a much more well rounded game. I feel more confident in his striking, and I think he has the advantage if it goes to the ground, off the back, and on top. I think that will be a bad threat to Brad Katona. We move on to Daniel Santos versus Young Lee. This is an interesting fight. Daniel Santos is coming off of a win against Johnny Munoz Jr. He KO'd John Castaneda in the second round with a knee, which is a good win. He lost to Julio Arce, submitted Nizambic Adratov, and some guy named Enrique Santilli. He KO'd with a spinning back kick. You look at Young Lee, he's coming off of a loss to Hyder Mill, who is currently undefeated. It was a TKO loss in the first round. But before that, though, he was on a decent run. Picked up 2 wins against Blake Ryder, and he used that by split decision before losing to a Mill. And on the road to the UFC, was getting a lot of first down finishers, a first down right hook, a first down armbar. Ultimately, though, I'm going to go with Daniel Santos. He'll either win by decision or a late TKO. He's coming off a cancel bout with David Grant, where David Grant, a veteran, is on a really good run right now. But I honestly think he's a more aggressive fighter, and he's going to be the one that, starts the engagements in this fight. I feel like he will be the one to control the cage. Um, and I think he's better on the feet. But the main reason, and I said this last weekend, I was wrong about the pick, and I might be wrong about this one. The road to UFC fighters that we are getting now have not panned out. Kaya Sakura, um, Buddy that Brandon Royval, Tatsu Taira. Majority of them haven't really panned out well in the UFC. And I think that Daniel Santos has potential. I think he can turn into something. So I'm going to go with Daniel Santos. Um, I think a decision is more likely though. I could see him potentially in a clinch landing a knee or catching him with something along the lines of a grappling exchange, maybe faking a takedown. But yeah, we move on to Marc Andre Barrios versus Bruno Silva. I completely forgot, and I thought that Bruno Silva was released, but apparently not. He has a career record of 23-12, but he's fighting Marc Andre Barrios, again is a Canadian, and you know, this fight is trash. This fight is trash. There's no way around it. Marc Andre Barrios got killed by Dustin Schwartz in his last fight, by a right hook, followed by strikes, on the ground. He got KO'd by Joe Piper with that brutal overhand. Really wasn't any kind of challenge for him. And he lost to Chris Curtis by split decision. Well, Chris Curtis is not a top middleweight. He's just outside of being a legitimate middleweight. But he beat Eric Anders. He beat Julian Marquez, which everybody beats Julian Marquez. He did. I think that Marquez KO'd in like five or four fights in a row. But then we get to Bruno Silva, man, and there's only one thing he's known for, and that is basically being the highlight reel. No, he had a brilliant fight with Alex Pereira. That's the most notable thing about him. But he lost to Ismail Nardiev in his last fight at UFC 308 by unanimous decision. Lost to Chris Weidman, Shaura Magomedov by unanimous decision, and got submitted by Brendan Allen. He KO'd Brett Tavares. If there was a point in time where Bruno Silva was one of the scariest guys coming up in the UFC and coming up in the middleweight division. Marc Andre Barrios, he had a bit of promise. Again, he hasn't really beaten anybody of note. But I think this fight is designed for Barrios, and I have him winning here by decision. Losers should be cut in this fight. Again, I thought that Bruno Silva got cut. Maybe maybe I'm right and they brought him back. I have no clue. Um Ever since losing the Pereira fight, Silva has fell apart. Uh Again, he had a lot of promise for beforehand, but it's just not there. And I don't expect much from this fight. This fight to me is just a fight where the UFC can have a Canadian win on home turf and you get the fans roaring. He has a French last name. I assume he's from Quebec. I have no idea. But we move on to Navarro Sterling versus Ivan Erzman. This is an interesting fight here. We all know Navarro Sterling is a fairly new prospect. He comes from kickboxing. I forget which organization, but is it? I don't think it's Dutch. Wait, is it Dutch? I think it is the Dutch kickboxing scene. Maybe I won't if you can correct me. But he beat Tuco Toko, however you say his name, in his debut by unanimous decision. He KO'd Philip Latu in the second round with a left hook on the Contender Series, and he came into the UFC off of three TKOs, one in the third round against Sam Key, um, but the other two were first round knockouts of guys that look like total cans, and James Caldwell he beat. I have no clue who that is though. You look at Ivan Erzman, he lost to Ian Kutawaba, which we're going to get to Ian Kutawaba, and I have a bit to say about him. Yeah, he KO Bogdan Nidko, however you say his name, in the first round before. Got KO by Rafael Hartic in the first round before that. Um, Basically, recently he's been uh, knocked out or be knocked out. Um, this is tough because you have a guy in Navajo Sterling who's really young, who's coming in from kickboxing, and I do believe he has some promise in the UFC. But I also lately a lot of these prospects have gotten contracts. A lot of these guys at the UFC are forcing down our throats, like Peyton Talbot and I'm blanking on the other name. They're losing these fights. Um, I'm going to go with Navarro Sterling. I was very close to going with the Erskine because I think that once he runs into a grappler, he should outlive. But this match should be more of a striking match. I expect it to be mainly on the feet, and if that's the case, I think Navarro Sterling can piece him up, stay at range. That is his bread and butter. But he will struggle with it. Uh, he will struggle with first one gets him down, and he's already shown that in his last fight he got taken down, and he wasn't really able to do much. He still got the win, but he really struggled, and I feel like Navarro Sterling. I'm not as hyped as a lot of the people are on him, but I kind of like Renier Ritter. I need to see a little bit more from him at the UFC level. Now, RDR obviously a one champion and all of that. It's a different conversation, obviously. What you know what I mean, right? I really need to see Sterling face a legitimate grappler, and I need to see if he can face that adversity. And if he does that, he'd really, uh, he'd really be turning around the script on a lot of these prospects that the UFC are currently promoting. We move on to the fight that I was teasing, Modestus Bukakis versus Ion Kukalava. Let's start with Modestus Bukakis, right? So he's on a 2 fight win streak. He KO'd Rafael Sequeira in his last fight by a beautiful combination in the first round. He submitted Martin Petrino, and before that, he lost to Vitor Petrino. Vitor Petrino is one scary motherfucker, and I think that he will be a problem in this division. But before that, he beat Zach Pago, Tyson Pedro. Ian Kutalaba now. What to say about Ian Kutalaba? You never know what you're going to get with him because he. I've been watching a lot of I watched a lot of predictions yesterday while I was making mine, just to see what other people were saying and all of that. And I'm not alone in thinking that Ian Kutalaba is a god mode fighter against people who he should lose to. But when it comes to the people who he should beat, like Felipe wins, he comes up short. I think Ian Kutalaba has a lot of potential. So does Edward. So does Modestus Bukakis. And I really want to go with Ian Kutalaba. I really think he is a really fun fighter, really entertaining, and he has a very good skill set. But I have to go with Modestus Bukakis. I'm going to go with him winning by decision. And the main reason is Ian Kutalaba being a mixed bag. he beats who he shouldn't, and he loses the ones he should win. So by my logic here, he should win this fight. But I'm picking him because I think Modestus Bukakis is lesser than Modestus Bukakis is still a really good player, but I think Kutalaba should be levels ahead of him. He's on a four-fight winning streak after running into Vitor Petrino too, like I said, which is very impressive. And I think that this fight will be very sluggish. I think we'll get some really big moments and some massive exchanges, but I can see this fight really being back and forth with both fighters throwing a blitz and taking 20 seconds to recover and then throwing everything they have. But we'll see, man. Me, I think that Inker Tawala honestly should win this fight, but it's just a matter of whether he can reach the potential that he has shown in the UFC. While we move on to Jessica Andrade versus Jasmine. I can never say her name. Jasmine Jazz Davidicus. I think I said it right. We all know Jessica Andrade, former champion, beat Robert Namajunas with a slam. But ever since then, she lost to Natalia Silva by decision. She beat Marina Rodriguez in a very close fight for a split decision at UFC 300. But again, I know a lot of people are mixed on that fight. She did KO Mackenzie Dern, but she got submitted by Tatiana Suarez and KO'd by Jan Zionet. Um, you move on to Jazz Davidicus, so she's an interesting case. She's on a 4-fight win streak, and she's really looked good in these 4 fights. Beat Maria Bueno Silva in the last fight by unanimous decision. Submitted Arain Lipsky to Silva. Beat Fatima Klein and Priscilla Cochera by Dose choke. Um, you know, if this was a few years ago, I would probably confidently go with Jessica Andrade, but I'm gonna go Jazz the big case. Andrade isn't the same fighter who beat Rose. She's not the same fighter that became champion and was a monster in this division. And she was um with Jazz Davidicus. She loses to good fighters. Tracy Cortez, she lost to Natalia Silva. Maybe with a little bit more experience in the cage, she can work herself in there. But right now, I feel like the women's division is kind of getting good now. Um, love to see, but we move on to Mike Malott versus Charles Radke. This is uh, okay. I'm gonna go with Charles Radke first. He's coming off a first round KO over Matthew Salmsberger. A really good win. Ran into Carlos Fontes, got TKO'd by a knee to the body. Before that, though, he TKO'd Gilbert Urbina, Mike Mathesa, and he submitted Raheem Forrest and CFFC. Mike Malott, though. Michael is really talented. He is one of these guys that have come out from Canada that I do have my eye on, and I think that with the proper progression, we could be talking about Mike Malott as a legit contender. He beat Seven Jones in his last fight, but he gave up against Neil Magny in the third. Like, I'm not a fighter. I'm not in the cage. I probably never will get in the cage. Um, but it's not a good look when you're quitting in the cage. Well, before that, he submitted Adam Forget. Submitted Johan Wanesi, and he TKO'd Mickey Gall. You know, I don't want to say cans, but the kind of warm ups. The UFC clearly want Mike Malott to turn into something. And then you move on to Charles Radke, who is coming off, or I just did Charles Radke. Right. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a close fight. And I think this fight will really tell us what we have with Mike Malott. I think when I was looking at the odds, Radke was up a bit. They might have changed. But I'm going to go with Mike Malott. And apart from the Magny fight where he quit, he has looked really good. He has definitely showed that he has a lot of potential. Um, Very well rounded, has good striking, can grapple, can get people down. But we're still waiting on the breakout performance, and maybe he can have that against Charles Radke. I think he really needs it though, in order for him to really break in and potentially become a star in the Canadian market. I think he does that by, a TKO finish. But I see him getting a decision finish, not a decision finish, oh my. I see him getting the decision. I see him outstriking um, Radke. And if Radke is able to stay on the outside and kind of pick him apart, I trust Malott can get him down. So I'm going to go with Malott. And I really want to see a breakout performance and, have the hype around him or, whatever hype he had coming into the UFC. I want to see that, man. I want to see us actually have stars in Canada. Which, again, for a Canadian card, we don't have many Canadians on this card. They did it with the Australia card, even though that was definitely not worth $80. But I'm ranting. I'm going with Mike Malott. Again, I want to see the breakout performance. If not, I think Charles Radke has it. Now we get to a major step down in competition with Benoit Saint Denis taking on Kyle Prepelic. Um, Benoit Saint Denis got the major push with the Dustin Poirier fight. Before that, though, he was finishing everybody. He came into the UFC. He was submitting people. He submitted Bonfim in the first round, TKO Thiago Moises, and KO'd Matt Favola. And then the UFC jumped on the Poirier fight because they thought Poirier was done. Even though he did really good against Islam Makhachev, Poirier knocked him out. Or no, that was after the Gaethje fight. My apology. Poirier gets knocked out by Gaethje. They they give him Benoit Saint Denis, and then Poirier knocks him out. Goes on to fight. Islam loses, but it was a major push to give them Poirier, and I do think that Benoit Saint Denis needs a little bit more time to compete with those veterans. I know that Ronaldo Moicano and Poirier is obviously retiring in his next fight. We move on to Kyle Prepelic, who's making his debut in the UFC. He's on a three-fight uh, finishing streak, all by first round TKO. Gustavo uh, Wawritzer, Josh Henry, Marco Alpadillo. He lost to Shane Campbell by unanimous decision. But overall, Kyle Prepelic, I don't know much about him. And the fights that I did watch of his, I think that Benoit Saint Denis should be able to run right through this guy. You would think being a ranked UFC lightweight, you can crush a guy like this. Again, you're supposed to be fighting the best of the best. So I'm going to go with Benoit Saint Denis. Why didn't it bold the last letter? Oh well. I think he gets it done by second round TKO. He should win this fight. Then this guy is mostly a no name. It's a major step in competition, which I think he needed. I was shocked by this though. I didn't think they would give him this much of a downgrade. But there's a slight chance that Kyle is legit. And we want to see how his career pans out in the UFC. But if you are a ranked, like if you're a ranked contender in the UFC, you should be able to knock on a guy like this. But we'll see. We move on to Alexa Grasso versus Natalia Silva. Alexa Grasso coming off of a loss to one of the three fights with Valentina Shevchenko. She lost the last one by unanimous decision. Her first fight was a split draw, and then obviously she uh, submitted Shevchenko with a rear naked choke in the fourth round to win the belt, beat Vivian Araújo, Joanne Wood. Um, Alexa Grasso is very limited, I feel, in this point. We're going to get to that. When you look at Natalia Silva, she is on quite the run. Jessica Andrade should be by unanimous decision. Got a bonus for it. Beat Vivian Araújo, Andre Ali. Again, Andre Ali was just released somehow. Victoria Leonardo, she KO'd in the first round. And Teresa Buendia. We know what we're going to get with Alexa Grasso. We know she's a good striker. It's the grappling where I'm not sure. I'm not saying I have it the other way around. We obviously know she can grapple. She submitted Valentina Shevchenko. I feel in this fight, Natalia Silva uh, is more well rounded and has more tools to win. Is a younger fighter, and even though she won the first fight with Shevchenko, it was a mixed bag with the second and third fight. Third fight, she didn't really look good in. Second fight, it was very off. I kind of thought Valentina Shevchenko won that fight, but I'm going to go with Natalia Silva. Um, Her last loss was to Marino Rodriguez in 2017, who is again another top contender. And I just think she's faster, more accurate. I think when it comes to the grappling, we know what Grosso's style of grappling is, and I feel like it works to Natalia Silva's advantage. Um, I definitely can see her being able to move out of the way quick. I believe that she can get in on the striking quicker than Grosso. Grosso, I feel, has better technique, but it just comes to the speed. So I'm going to go with Natalia Silva. And I think it'll be close, but we'll have to see. Alexa Grosso is kind of in a weird position. Big show for how the fights ended. with Shevchenko. And it all depends. Well, okay, we know what should be happening with Shevchenko. She should be fighting, if she wins, against Della, which is a big fight. But Natalia Silva would put her name up there, and like women's MMA is kind of on a return here. Like we actually have finishers in the female divisions. We move on to the the second second or third to final fight. I have no clue. Jose Aldo versus Amin Zahabi. Faraz Zahabi's brother, famous Coach GSP, um, Ronda Rousey, plenty of other fighters. We know what happened to Jose Aldo in that last fight. Jose Aldo went through the worst robbery anybody has ever went through. Mario Batista actively didn't fight. Um, but yeah, he did really good against Jonathan Martinez. Won that fight very convincingly. He did good against Merab Dvalishvili. Didn't get taken down again. Jose Aldo has some of the best takedown defense in the UFC. He beat Rob Font by unanimous decision, Pedro Munoz. But the most impressive part about these fights is that he came out of retirement. He came back from boxing. He moved down to bantamweight before he left. Um, to go on a run here, and honestly, seeing what Jose Aldo can do at his age, which like his, I've heard like his reported age is nowhere near his real age. Like this guy apparently is in his mid 40s or something like that, and he's still competing like this. You move on to Alman Zahabi, who beat Pedro Munoz in his last fight by unanimous decision. Beat Basharat, which was a good win. Beat Erling by a first round KO with a left hook, followed up by strikes to the ground. Ricky Turcos he beat, and Draco Rodriguez. Abin Hobby has been around a lot of good fighters over his career, even when he, wasn't a MMA fighter. Again, the names are for us train. Say what you want about the Ronda situation. Yeah, it's funny. But again, the welterweight competition that he has been around, he has definitely picked up on a few things. And he is really good. But Jose Aldo hasn't really missed a step. Like, I look at the way Jose Aldo fights now, and it's very similar to the way he fought when he was 30. Or when we thought he was 30, apparently. Um, but when I look at this fight, I look at what Alman Zahabi has to offer. I feel like Alman Zahabi will try and engage with engage in kind of a shot for shot match. I don't see him getting Jose Aldo down. Jose Aldo doesn't really get taken down. And I just feel the game that Alman Zahavi plays on the feet, unless he finds a way to get lucky and catch Jose Aldo, I feel like this is Jose Aldo's fight to win. Um, and it mainly comes off of he looks the exact same. He's coming off of a robbery, and I feel like he has more ways to win than Zahavi. If it goes to the ground, I think Jose Aldo has a better chance to finish him. If it's on the feet, I feel like Jose Aldo can finish him there. I'm not saying Zahavi can't, but I see more ways uh, from Jose Aldo's arsenal to get it done, and ultimately, I think he'll get it done here. Get another win, and come on. If Jose Aldo stays, give him Henry Cejudo. Give him a former legend. Put him on another pay per view. I want to make some bank, but no, we refuse super fights now. Now, now we move on to Valentina Shevchenko versus Manon Fiorot. A very interesting fight. Valentina Shevchenko, we know about the Grasso fights. I already talked about it. She won the last one. She got her belt back. She beat Talia Santos before that by split decision. Not really anything of note in that fight, at least I can remember. She did TKO Lauren Murphy. Well, we know Valentina Shevchenko, probably the second greatest female fighter of all time, behind Amanda Nunes, and two of her losses were to said Amanda Nunes. You look at Manon Fiorot, though, she is on a good run. She's 12 and 1. Beat Erin Blanchfield in the last fight, handing her second one. Or is it, yeah, her second loss. Beat Rose Namajunas by unanimous decision. A former champion. Caitlin Samara, Jennifer Maya, and Maria Bueno Silva. This is really a matter of the young contender, really good on the feet, really good on the ground. Taking on a Valentina Shevchenko who's trying to shift her game to a more veteran style approach. We saw her in her last fight against Grasso use the grappling really effectively. And we know that she she's excellent on the feet. Um, I could see Manon Fiorot winning this fight, but I think I have to go with the experience. Like, the fact that she is transitioning to a grappling heavily style makes me think that she understands how much time she has left on the sport in the sport. And unless she has a severe decline on the feet, I don't see her getting outclassed here. Maybe she gets caught, but I don't see the spectacular performance I imagined for all on the feet. And I think Shevchenko wins. I think that we will have the Zhang Wei fight announced probably closer to the end of the year, and potentially that will be the final fight of Shevchenko's career. Again, probably the second greatest female UFC fighter. Maybe the second greatest MMA fighter, period. Depends on where you put Chris Cyborg. But, yeah, I feel she gets it done there. And it comes down to the experience for me. It comes down to the IQ. And when you look at Valentina, you look at Volkanovski, these older champions that we've watched for years, they understand how much time they have in this sport. Valentina Shevchenko, I believe this will be like her eighth or ninth title defense, something like that. I know she lost the belt, but it's still impressive. And I'm not completely counting out Farad. I feel Shevchenko learned a lesson against Grasso, and I feel like she's moving into the style that she needs to be. Um, I think she'll probably win. She'll win 3 rounds. I think. I don't expect her to dominate the fight. I expect it to be close, but I don't see her losing this fight. Then we move on to the main event. Now, okay, Belal Muhammed versus Della Maddalena. A very interesting fight. Um, we all were a bit shocked when it wasn't Shevchenko, but Shevchenko got injured. We all know what's going on with Belal Muhammed. He dominated Leon in his last fight, which Sean Brady dominated Leon's last fight. But it was still very impressive because before that fight, really the only guy that consistently got Leon down was Kamaru in their fights. He beat Gilbert Burns. He KO'd Sean Brady somehow. Um, but I mean, it aged beautifully. Now that Brady is the number one contender. Beat Vicente Luque by unanimous decision. Beat Stephen Thompson. No, we know all the jokes, right, about Belal Muhammad. You know, nobody remembers the name. All this stuff. Belal Muhammad is a beast. Belal Muhammad is a beast in that stage. To do what he did to Leon Edwards was really impressive. To put on that pace. But then you have JDM, Jack Della Maddalena, coming in at 17-2, undefeated in the UFC. He TKO'd Gilbert Burns. I know Gilbert Burns is older, but still, it's crazy to have a TKO over him. Split decision over Kevin Holland. Basil Hafez. He submitted Randy Brown. That's a really good win. TKO Danny Roberts. We all know JDM is probably the most fun fighter to watch, right? Apart from Alex Pereira or like Francis Ngannou. He has beautiful kickboxing. He has really good defense, or takedown defense, really good wrestling. And I think this is. I can always see this fight going one of two ways. And I really want JDM to win. I have nothing against Belal personally. I just want entertaining fighters to hold the belt. And if Belal has an insane performance here, I'll eat my words. But I just think JDM is better on the feet. I feel like depending on how the first few takedown attempts go, if he's able to stop the if he's able to stop most of Belal's takedowns are away, I feel we can really see what Belal's gas tank is really made out of. And he's shown that his gas tank is really good in his last fight. The logical decision here is to go with Belal Muhammad. By decision. I feel that's the safest pick. And that's what I went with. I want JDM to win then. Like, I was so close on saying, fuck it, dude. JDM, fourth round TKO. I want JDM to win this fight. I love JDM's fight, so. But he ran through it Leon Edwards, man. I think that JDM has the better takedown defense, especially over to Leon. But Belal is really good, man. He is really good. He, unlike a lot of grapplers, he knows how to finish a takedown. He knows how to get guys to the ground. Um, and he somehow KO'd Sean Brady. So it wouldn't surprise me if he somehow KO'd JDM and handed JDM his only loss in the UFC as well. Um, but I don't know, man. Well, like this is Bilal's first title defense, and I think that Bilal is good. I feel like Bilal at the minimum will get one title defense. Shavkat, with what Yinger did against Shavkat, I still favor Shavkat in a fight against Bilal. But after that fight, I think it's close. And the other part of it too is that 170 right now is insane. Brady, Leon, Barkley, Usman. You got um I'm already blanking on names. Yeah, I'm trying to hype up uh the division and I can't even remember names, rankings. Um well like yeah, you got Leon Brady, Barkley, you got JDM, you got Carlos Prates, Ian Gary, I think I said already. Brian Battle coming up. And then you got, your veteran guys like Randy Brown, Jeff Neal. It's going to be interesting. It's really going to be interesting when the reign of Belal ends, how it ends. And the main reason I want Belal to win is because if he doesn't win, we might not get Taporia versus Islam. Unless it gets announced while I'm recording this, and that's the main event for International Fight Week. But I think we're in the Belal era, and I want JDM to win. You guys already know though. You know who I think will win that belt, and his nickname is New Manager. But let me know in the comments down below. What do you think about my picks for this weekend? Let me know your picks down below. Thanks for watching.